The world ain't what it used to be, ma'am. It's almost right.
That is for sure. You from around here?
Name's Tom T. Shiflett.
Name's Lucinell Crater. This right here is my daughter, Lucinell Crater. Why are you here anyways?
Looking for a place to stay, ma'am.
Well, I can give you a place to stay, but no pay. Are you single?
Well, ma'am, I think you're a little old for me, don't you think?
No, my daughter is the sweetest girl in the world. She's real good at feeding the chickens.
Sounds like a perfect fit for my cousin, Steve Brown. Well, good night, ma'am.
You can go sleep in the car.
See that, Lucinell? That's a bird. Can you say that? Bird.
Bird! Bird! Teach her to say something else.
Why, ma'am? She's so good at saying bird. It's a fine word to know, because one might get ditched out of Dinah.
Say, you want to marry an innocent woman, don't you?
Why, sure, ma'am. Doesn't anyone?
Well, why don't you take my Lucinell right here and get married to her? We can go down to the church right now and get you two married.
My cousin once told me, ma'am, that every decision should be inspired by incentives.
Okay. In addition to the girl, you get the automobile and $15.
I wouldn't get much more than the hotel room and gas, ma'am.
Fine. $17.50.
I can make that work. Well, I may be married now, but that don't satisfy me at all.
Well, it satisfied the law.
Well, the law don't satisfy me.
Now listen, I ain't never been away from her for more than 3 days.
Well, you will be now, ma'am. I gotta get to Mobile by nightfall. Bye-bye.
All right, what do you have?
Ham and grits for the lady, sir.
All right.
Give it to her when she wakes up. I'll pay for it now.
She looks like an angel of God.
She's a hitchhiker. I gotta go, though. Gotta get to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, well, you have a good night, sir.
You too, sir.
Your way. When you have that pillow there, of sweetness, cheeks like apples, eyes like stars, things they don't put up in jars.
Hi, son. Get in.
Diet of love.
I'm so happy, what a smile. Oh, so happy for a while. You should try it, my boy.
I've got the best mother. Yours is only second best. Unfortunately, I was stupid and left her.
Why are you so obsessed with your mom? You go to the devil, weirdo.
Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men represented the modern time period well because it portrayed the rejection of the American dream. George and Lenny try hard to make it in the world but are unsuccessful in achieving their American dream of owning their own farm. This story also demonstrates the rejection of sentimentality when George shoots Lenny.
You're a nice fella. You're just like a big baby, that's all. Hey, stop! Stop! Get off!
Please
Get
stop
off!
screaming!
Get
George won't
off!
like it if you scream! Ah! I done a bad thing! George not gonna like this. I may not get to tend the rabbits no more.
Lenny! Lenny! Lenny!
George!
Hey, how you doing, Lenny?
I'm just great. George, tell me about that place we're gonna have.
All right, Lenny. Just look over there. I'll tell you. Hey, Lenny, we're gonna get us some cows, some pigs, some chickens.
Don't forget about the rabbits, George.
Oh, I won't forget about the rabbits.
And I get to tend the rabbits.
Oh, yeah, you get to tend the rabbits.
The contemporary time period has been the most influential in American life today because of its proximity. All of us remember the tsunami which obliterated countless communities in and around the Indian Ocean and left over 250,000 dead or missing. All of us remember 9/11, an event which needs no further explanation. For the events we cannot remember, our parents and grandparents certainly can. No one will forget December 7th, 1941, a day which catalyzed American entrance into a war in which no superpower was immune. As one theatrical event ended halfway across the world in 1945, a new era's curtains would slowly raise by the early 1950s. The Red Scare and McCarthy, Cold War and Truman, conformity and segregation, space race and Sputnik, television and exploitation. All were symbolic of change, but in what direction? The direction was even more blurred at the failure in Cuba in 1961 by President Kennedy. A light in the tunnel came in the form of I Have a Dream 2 years later. But in late 1963, America lost its light in that dark tunnel as the assassination of John F. Kennedy brought a wave of grief rolling over the nation. Yet things would look up. Lyndon B. Johnson put in concrete the visions Kennedy had barely manifested for African Americans. And even as the unwanted war escalated in Vietnam, the nation was able to come together in its living room to see Buzz and Neil take those first small steps on a surface made tangible by television. More waves would roll the United States up and down throughout the next decades, a pattern well known by time. The removal of troops from Vietnam and then Watergate in '79 cast a hopeful beginning and then a troubling end for the Nixon presidency. The Cold War began thawing as the U.S. and the Soviet Union signed a peace treaty, and in 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved under the guidance of Mikhail Gorbachev, marking the true end of a shadowed war with a 40-year history. The next trough in the American wave would come in the form of a war on terror, a war still being fought today and one we will certainly remember. In the death of Osama bin Laden, however, perhaps we may be looking at the crest in another wave of contemporary history. The postmodern writing style is characterized by multiple meanings in multiple worlds, structures working in non-traditional forms, intensely personal, cultural diversity, a blend of fiction and non-fiction, and the use of the past fearlessly. Anne Frank's single published work, her diary, brings a different contribution to contemporary literature. Postmodernism can be defined by its use of cultural influence and blending of time and customs, all characteristics of Anne Frank's work. Her diary brings to life the culture of Jewish people of the time and the fears she lived through each day during a war decades ago. Yet her story has been able to withstand the test of time and cross generations to be relevant today.
Believe me, I'd like to listen to them, but it doesn't work, because if I'm quiet and serious, everyone thinks that I'm putting on a new act and I have to save myself with a joke. And then I'm not even talking about my own family, who assume I must be ill. Stuff me with aspirins and sedatives. Feel my neck and forehead to see if I have a temperature. Ask me about my bowel movements, and berate me for being in a bad mood, until I just can't keep it up anymore. Because when everyone starts hovering over me, I get cross, then sad, and finally end up turning my heart inside out. The bad part on the outside and the good part on the inside. And keep trying to find a way to become what I'd like to be and what I could be if only there were no other people in the world. Yours, Anne M. Frank.
Da ist sie. Bekommen Sie. Ich hoffe, Sie genießen Ihren Aufenthalt in Auschwitz.
Choosing Sylvia Plath as a representative of the postmoderns was an easy choice. Her self-analytic style exemplifies the contemporary period and other defining themes of the years since the Second World War. The majority of Plath's works carry multiple meanings and interpretations. Mirror and Mushrooms could not show this more accurately. In Mirror, Plath addresses the fear of aging and in doing so reveals a reflection of herself as well. Mushrooms works similarly to allow the reader their own interpretation. Are the mushrooms truly meek, or are they symbolic of something else? By being able to ask these questions of her poetry, Sylvia Plath shows why she is a perfect example of the contemporary period.
Overnight, very whitely, discreetly, very quietly, our toes, our noses, take hold on the loam, acquire the air. Nobody sees us, stops us, betrays us. The small grains make room. Soft fists insist on heaving the needles, the leafy bedding, even the paving. Our hammers, our rams, earless and eyeless, perfectly voiceless, widen the crannies, shoulder through the holes. We diet on water, on crumbs of shadow, bland-mannered, asking little or nothing. So many of us, so many of us. We are shelves, we are tables, we are meek, we are edible. Nudgers and shovers, in spite of ourselves, our kind multiplies. We shall by morning inherit the earth, our foot's in the door.